She had a new outlook on life after getting her health back.
She had been cancer-free for nearly 6 months.
But now that her darkest days were behind her, she was ready to dip her toes in the dating pool.
And the dating pool welcomed her with open arms.
She had been dating a couple of different guys.
She was playing the field like any beautiful single woman would do.
But when her body is discovered across state lines, it's all hands on deck to track down her killer.
The first 48 hours of an investigation is very important.
With no shortage of suspects, police have to consider all possibilities.
Essentially, there was a lot of finger pointing going on.
Recently, he had been acting really strange, like he was cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs.
And when dark secrets are exposed,
He's been seeing her on the side while he has a whole wife at home.
the truth will finally come to light.
They took the seats off, and that's where they found blood.
You know how they send somebody walk in the room and hold the back of your neck, stand up?
They don't tell you I'm a murderous narcissist right off the bat.
It's just so heartbreaking that she was able to survive cancer, but she wasn't able to survive this.
January 5th, 2013, Bethalto, Illinois. Another holiday season is winding down in this small town just 30 miles north of St. Louis.
Bethalto, Illinois is a small, quiet, peaceful suburb of St. Louis, Missouri. Population maybe between 9 and 10,000 people.
We're right across the river from the St. Louis metropolitan area.
At 9 a.m., one young man is taking a casual stroll in a rural area of town.
He was walking his dog along a rural stretch of highway and noticed something odd on the ravine along the side of the road.
Initially, he thought that maybe it was just trash.
But a closer look reveals a much more horrifying discovery.
It was a human body.
Oh my God.
He immediately contacts authorities.
And investigators are on the scene within minutes.
Looks like gunshot wounds.
She had been shot twice in the left side of her head.
But there's no sign of a struggle. There's no blood spatter that you would imagine seeing.
For police, this means the victim was likely killed elsewhere before being dumped at this location.
But who is she?
She didn't have any identification on her, so our first step in the investigation is to obviously identify the victim.
In these cases, when you find a body along the side of a road like this, you can reasonably assume that the person has been missing within the last few days.
Bethalto police put out an APB to local precincts and almost immediately get a hit from St. Louis regarding a current missing persons case.
Someone from the St. Louis City Police Department called us and said, hey, we've got one that's missing, and we think this might be her.
Can you spell that for me?
The missing woman's name is Tabitha Milton Rush.
44-year-old mother of two, Tabitha Milton Rush was the sort of woman anyone would be lucky to count among their friends.
She was a kind-hearted, nice, church-going lady.
She was a volunteer at the Urban League of Metropolitan St. Louis.
People were in and out of her house all of the time to just hang out with her, to be with her. She was loving and welcoming to them all.
And Tabitha had recently overcome one of life's biggest challenges.
Tabitha was a breast cancer survivor.
She had been cancer-free for nearly 6 months, and it really gave her a whole new outlook on life.
Part of that new outlook on life meant opening herself up to the prospect of romance.
Tabitha had pretty much been single since she and her husband divorced in 2009.
She was ready to dip her toes in the dating pool and see what was out there.
And Tabitha didn't have to look far. She soon reconnected with an old high school friend named Glenn Jenkins, and the two instantly hit it off.
A lot happens in 25 years.
Tell me about it.
I'm just glad you sent me that friend request. It's been amazing getting to know you again.
Likewise.
Glenn had such a positive energy, and that made Tabitha feel really safe with him.
She was able to be completely open with Glenn about her cancer struggles and her healing process.
You're an inspiration, Tab. Truly.
But Tabitha never expected to meet another potential suitor so soon.
Just days later, she was approached by a charming stranger.
Hello. Mind if I join you?
Okay. Yeah, sure.
Okay.
She was out having dinner one evening when she met local chef Raymond Reed.
Actually, I work back in the kitchen. Just got off my shift. I don't mean to sound forward, but you are absolutely gorgeous.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Raymond was outgoing. He was fun. They really enjoyed each other's company.
It's only natural to play the field a bit after being single for a while, so Tabitha intended to explore relationships with both Raymond and Glenn.
With her darkest days behind her, Tabitha was looking forward to a new year.
In the days leading up to New Year's of 2013, Tabitha was optimistic for what the future might have in store for her.
But now, investigators in Bethalto, Illinois believe Tabitha is the Jane Doe they found shot to death in a rural area of town.
Can you spell that for me?
Bethalto police were able to connect with that family rather quickly.
The family members were able to assist in the identification almost immediately.
And they're able to confirm that the body is, in fact, Tabitha Milton Brush.
Investigators know they need to move quickly in order to track down Tabitha's killer.
The first 48 hours of an investigation is very important, and getting a timeline together of the victim of a case is very important.
Tabitha's family hadn't heard from her since New Year's Day and reported her missing on the 3rd. So police believe she was killed sometime on the evening of the 1st.
In their search for answers, one of the individuals detectives speak with is Tabitha's ex-husband, Michael Grainer.
He wants to assist in the investigation any way he can.
You have kids together?
Yes, we have 2 kids.
Michael says that although he and Tabitha were no longer together, they always maintained a great relationship for the kids.
We've been separated for maybe 5, 10 years, but we're the best of friends. I'm always, any residence she stays in, I come and go as I please.
However, Michael insists any romantic relationship between him and Tabitha ended years ago.
It wasn't a sexual thing for the last 10 years.
So, when was the last time you saw her?
On New Year's Eve, 31st, that Monday.
They both attended a New Year's Eve party thrown by one of their mutual friends.
12 o'clock, we all toast. At 1 o'clock is when it was over with.
Michael says that when they were ready to leave, Tabitha asked him if he could give her a ride.
But it's where Michael dropped her off that piques investigators' interest.
He says he dropped her off at the home of a man she'd been dating named Glenn Jenkins.
After making a miraculous recovery from breast cancer, 44-year-old Tabitha Milton Rush was looking forward to what 2013 had in store.
After surviving a terrifying cancer scare, she had this amazing new outlook on life.
You're an inspiration, Tab. Truly.
She was dating again and had recently met more than one guy that had caught her interest.
She was playing the field like any beautiful single woman would do.
But now, Tabitha has been the victim of murder.
She was found shot to death along a rural highway in Bethalto, Illinois, about 30 miles from her home in St. Louis.
Tabitha is a sweet person with no enemies.
Who would do something like this to her?
In speaking with Tabitha's ex-husband, Michael Grainer, police have just uncovered their first lead.
He says the last time he saw Tabitha was in the early morning hours of New Year's Day when he dropped her off at the home of a man she'd been dating, Glenn Jenkins.
I got up at about 1:45, New Year's Day, that morning, Tuesday morning.
Michael says after that, he went to his girlfriend's house.
Okay, and I have a girlfriend that stays on Hammond, and I went there.
Michael says when he didn't hear from Tabitha later that day, he started to grow concerned.
After dropping Tabitha off at Glenn's house, he essentially never heard from her again.
She normally calls me and says, you know, I need you to go get your daughter, gotta go to work, you know, because this is how we interact. So that didn't happen. So come Wednesday, it's the same thing. Yeah, she ain't call me.
She didn't call you on Tuesday, which was unusual.
Right.
She didn't call you on
Wednesday was unusual.
That's when you became worried.
Yeah, and I'm like, you know, this ain't her. She ain't give me no break like this.
To investigators, Michael seems very trustworthy. They don't believe that he had anything to do with Tabitha's murder.
After wrapping up their interview with Michael, investigators shift their focus to Tabitha's new flame, Glenn Jenkins.
When police reach out and ask him to come to the station for an interview, Glenn Jenkins doesn't hesitate.
Thanks for coming in, Glenn.
Of course.
Glenn seems pretty shattered by what's happened to Tabitha.
I care about her a lot. I thought we was gonna have a real future together.
Glenn describes their dating relationship as casual, but in the past few weeks, he'd seen Tabitha quite frequently.
They were getting together 2 or 3 times a week. To law enforcement, that appears to be a pretty serious relationship.
Why didn't you go with her to the New Year's Eve party that night?
Well, I knew her ex-husband was gonna be there. And I thought it might be awkward.
But Glenn confirms Michael's account that Tabitha came over to his house after the party around 1:45 a.m.
Glenn says that he and Tabitha had spent the night together, and the following day, he dropped her off around 2 p.m.
He said when he dropped her off at her house, that was the last time he ever saw or spoke to her.
Look, I swear, I haven't heard from her since. Here, check my phone.
Based on the couple's phone calls and text history, it truly does seem that Glenn's last point of contact with Tabitha was around 2 p.m., the same day that he dropped her off.
And as detectives continue questioning Tabitha's inner circle, they're inclined to believe Glenn's account.
They spoke with Tabitha's friend Debbie, who reported seeing her at her home around 5:30 p.m. on New Year's Day.
Yes, I just swung by for a quick visit. I didn't stay long.
But Debbie says she wasn't the only visitor Tabitha had that evening.
Thank you for coming by.
Oh my gosh, yes, it's so good to see you.
Hold on a second.
Hey.
Hey.
Mind if I come in?
Yeah.
When she was over there, a man that Tabitha was dating came over to visit her.
His name was Raymond Reed.
Debbie, this is Raymond.
Hi, pleased to meet you.
You as well. I was actually just about to head out. You guys enjoy the rest of your night.
Okay. You have a good night.
All right, we'll talk. Okay, bye, hon.
When I left, he was still there. And I've never heard from Tabby since that.
This opens up a whole new slew of possibilities.
Raymond Reed is now the last person to see Tabitha alive.
Detectives wanted to get in touch with Raymond Reed immediately.
However, when investigators contact Raymond, it appears he's recently gone out of town.
They talked to him on the phone and he said, I'm in Oregon.
Well, it was a belated trip to visit my family in Oregon.
Since I missed out on Christmas.
When police inform Raymond that Tabitha has been found dead, he seems extremely upset.
What? No. No, it can't be. It can't be.
Can you tell me the last time you saw Tabitha?
Raymond confirms that he went to Tabitha's house around 5:30 p.m. on the evening of January 1st.
We spent the night together, and the next morning I got up early to
catch my flight to Oregon.
Raymond says Tabitha was very much alive when he left that morning.
I can't believe this.
He says he's devastated about Tabitha's death and wants to do whatever he can to help the investigation.
But detectives aren't so sure they can trust Raymond Reed.
The trip to Oregon seems just a little too convenient.
Something seems off here. Something seems fishy.
Organization is the key to a homicide investigation early on. If you do not organize the leads that are coming in, you can mess up a homicide investigation very quickly. You have to take a look about 10 miles down the road because you know that eventually this case could end up in a courtroom. And the things that you do during the early stages of that homicide investigation, if you don't do them the right way, it could ultimately lead to that defendant walking out of jail.
Detectives investigating the homicide of 44-year-old cancer survivor Tabitha Milton Rush have a new suspect in their crosshairs. A man she'd recently started dating by the name of Raymond Reed.
Hey, mind if I come in?
Yeah. As far as they know, Raymond was the last person to see Tabitha alive.
He also says he flew to Oregon around the same time she went missing, which seems very suspicious.
But when detectives review the flight manifest from the morning of January 2nd, Raymond's name is nowhere to be found.
He didn't fly to Oregon that morning. He didn't fly anywhere. So why did he lie?
Furthermore, Raymond's phone is now going straight to voicemail.
No one knows where he is.
Could he be on the run from the police? If so, he already had a 4-day head start.
And with all of this evidence kind of mounting, the police inform all of their local policemen to be on the lookout for him.
Yeah. I want his picture on every news station.
As officers scour the area for Raymond, detectives continue building their case.
We do a deeper dive into that person's history. Had they ever previously been arrested before? Do they have a history of violent crimes against persons, things of that nature?
And their concerns and misgivings about him continue to grow once they run his name through their police database.
He had a lot of domestic-related incidents where the police were called for him being abusive to a woman.
And when detectives reach out to Raymond's ex-girlfriend, she describes him as a dangerous man.
I think her exact words were, he was a cheater and a beater.
She said that he punched her, he choked her, and even stabbed her with a knife. She was so shaken by this incident, she immediately took out an order of protection against him.
Raymond Reed definitely had a dark side.
When detectives speak with more of Tabitha's loved ones, they learn she was starting to see Raymond's dark side, too.
It appears that no one is a fan.
They did not like that she was with him.
You look like a dusty like guy. Used to talk to guys that got something going for themselves. They're on the same page with her. I knew that he wasn't on the same page with her.
A lot of people said that they would be with her on certain days where he would call her 40 times in a row and she wouldn't answer. Repeatedly call her nonstop.
I had never really experienced this until recently, but I just said when somebody walk in the room, if there's something about that person, like the hair on the back of your neck, stand up. It was one of them kind of people.
It was kind of reported to us that a good way to describe his behavior was extremely controlling and possessive. And in law enforcement, that's kind of a red flag for us.
He was cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs.
Tabitha and Raymond had only been dating for a few months, but he'd become completely obsessed with her and was trying to convince her to marry him.
He made it known to her he wanted to move to Oregon. She did not want to do that. She had family and a lot of friends here.
He took off all my secret things. I'm gonna get married. I just want everybody to be happy for me.
He was essentially posting on her social media, pretending to be her. It was just bizarre.
In recent weeks, Tabitha had been pulling away from Raymond.
She's trying to ignore him now, but she might be doing too much.
A lot of her friends say that she was backing off of him and that she was kind of ignoring him because she did not want to move to Oregon with him.
She was fed up with it. She saw it. She wanted to separate from her because she is that type of person. She was like, no, I deserve better than that.
She was starting the process of getting him out of her life, but he simply wasn't going to allow that to happen.
Was this a case of if I can't have you, no one will? When detectives speak with Tabitha's neighbors, that possibility becomes even more likely.
Neighbors report seeing Raymond's car sitting outside of Tabitha's house on New Year's Day.
They saw him sitting outside of her home that day, just staring at her home.
But it's what time this occurred that immediately strikes a chord with detectives.
It was around 2 p.m. that day.
It made them think back to their interview with Glenn, and Glenn said he had dropped Tabitha off at 2 p.m.
Now detectives wonder if Raymond saw something that sparked a jealous rage.
Did Raymond see Glenn dropping off Tabitha after spending the night with her? And did that cause him to snap?
With this chilling new information in tow, police obtain a subpoena for Raymond's phone records from the evening of January 1st.
And we have his location that evening. We also have Tabitha's location that evening. So we're tracking where they were all evening, and it shows both him and Tabitha traveling on the interstate into where her body was ultimately dumped, traveling together until her phone goes dead.
Investigators are ready to confront Raymond with the evidence in hopes of getting a confession. And it turns out he's feeling the heat.
On January 5th, Raymond actually shows up at the station to speak with investigators.
But he's not alone. There's a woman with him.
When he arrives to give his statement, he's accompanied by his wife.
A single mom.
She's losing her sense of self, where she ends and he begins.
Risks everything.
He's telling Melissa that he loves her, but he's sending her towards danger.
All new For My Man, Wednesday at 9 on TV 1.
In January of 2013, investigators in Bethalto, Illinois are zeroing in on their prime suspect in the murder of 44-year-old Tabitha Milton Rush.
They believe a man she'd been dating by the name of Raymond Reed is behind the crime.
He has a history of violence towards women and was exhibiting some very unsettling behaviors towards Tabitha in the weeks leading to her death.
By January 5th, it's clear Raymond has been feeling the heat.
He knows police have been looking for him, so he finally decides to show up at the station and speak with investigators.
Detectives, Raymond Reed is here.
But he's not alone.
When he arrives to give his statement, he's accompanied by his wife.
It's just really mind-blowing how he was in this relationship with Tabitha, but he shows up and he has a whole wife with him.
By all accounts, this was a man who was completely obsessed with Tabitha Milton Rush. So much so that he was trying to convince her to marry him and run away with him to Oregon. Meanwhile, he's already married.
Regardless, Raymond's wife, Faith Tyler, has his back.
Raymond Reed, nice to finally meet you face to face.
Just so you know, you have the wrong guy.
Faith says that she was with her husband the whole night on January 1st, so there's no way that he could have committed this murder without her knowledge.
Investigators believe Faith is lying to protect her husband.
Thanks, Miss Tyler. We'll be in touch.
Come with us, Raymond.
When detectives get Raymond alone, they cut right to the chase.
All right. You want to tell us what really happened on the evening of January 1st?
I already told you. I went to Tappy's around 5:30 p.m. and after that I went home.
He admits that he was at her home on January 1st.
He said that after he arrived at Tabitha's house that evening, she started to question him about the future of their relationship together.
Okay, so what's going on with us, Raymond?
I need more of a commitment. I want you to come to Oregon with me. I mean, you're gonna love it, girl.
I don't know, Ray.
The discussion turned into a heated argument.
Well, what you don't understand? I mean, we're meant to be together, you know that? The only way we can make this happen is if you agree to come with me.
Why are you so desperate to move?
He decided to finally come clean and admit that he was already married to another woman.
You can't be serious.
Yes, I'm serious. And if she ever finds out that we're together, she's gonna try everything to keep us apart. Now, the only way is to move somewhere else.
This is ridiculous. I am not going anywhere with you.
What?
He said that this disclosure of him being in a relationship with another woman just set Tabitha off, and she told him to get out of her house.
Come on, Tammy, you can't be serious. Come on, you gotta come with me now.
Get out.
You're not throwing me out. Come on.
Get out.
After that, I left.
He said he got home about 6:30 that night and never saw or spoke to Tabitha again.
He says he spent the rest of the evening with his wife, just like she said.
Why did you initially tell us that you spent the night? And why did you lie about flying to Oregon?
Detectives know they're not getting the full story here.
I don't know. I guess I panicked, okay?
That's when investigators tell Raymond his phone records place him at the site where Tabitha's body was found.
Come on, Raymond. It's time to be honest.
As the evidence piles up, he realizes that his story is falling apart.
Finally, he breaks and he says, okay, I want to tell you the truth.
You're right. There's more to the story.
But detectives never could have anticipated what Raymond says next.
It was Faith. It was my wife.
What do you mean?
He actually admitted being present when the victim was killed, only this time he started blaming it on his wife, that his wife was the one that killed Tabitha.
On January 5th, investigators working the murder case of 44-year-old cancer survivor Tabitha Milton Rush are finally sitting down with their #1 suspect, her boyfriend, Raymond Reed. But Raymond has just made a shocking accusation.
He started blaming it on his wife, that his wife was the one that killed Tabitha.
After I left Tabitha's, I returned home, and Faith and I got into a real heated argument.
He says that he came clean with his wife about the fact that he was having an affair with another woman.
He says, my wife found out about Tabitha. She was angry.
Actually, I've never seen her so angry in all my life. And I knew I needed to warn Tabby.
Raymond says later that night, he drove back to Tabitha's house, hoping she would listen to him despite their earlier argument about his marriage to Faith.
Thanks for agreeing to see me.
You have 5 minutes.
Raymond claims that unbeknownst to him, Faith was hiding in the back seat.
Oh my God, who are you?
I'm his wife.
Faith!
Faith popped up, and then the two women got into an argument over him.
That's when it got real bad.
Tell us what happened.
He said Tabitha was in the front seat, my wife was in the back, and my wife just suddenly pulled a gun out and shot her in the head twice.
Raymond says the shots killed Tabitha instantly.
Faith, what have you done?
Just drive.
Oh my God.
And that's when Faith told him that they needed to get rid of the body.
Look, I didn't want her to turn the gun on me, so I agreed to help her.
They were driving around for hours, looking for the best place to dump the body.
After they dumped Tabitha's body in rural Bethalto, Illinois, Raymond says he and Faith drove back home, covering their tracks along the way.
They bought cleaning supplies to clean out the car, and then they threw the murder weapon into the Mississippi River.
Raymond says once they got home, Faith instructed him to clean the vehicle from top to bottom.
It took hours to get rid of all that blood.
Was Raymond really an innocent bystander in all this?
There's no doubt he's guilty of being a cheater, but maybe he's not guilty of being a killer.
In an effort to verify Raymond's account, investigators conduct a forensics examination of his car.
They took the seats off. They had to unbolt the seats, and that's where they found blood.
So investigators think they can confirm that this is where Tabitha was killed. That part of Raymond's story checks out.
They also find surveillance video from a local supermarket that corroborates Raymond's story.
Surveillance video shows both him and Faith purchasing cleaning supplies on the night of the murder.
Now it's time to get Faith's side of the story.
With Raymond still in holding, detectives contact Faith and bring her back to the station for an interview.
So, like I said, you have the wrong guy.
That's why we have to talk. Raymond has pinned the crime on you. He says you killed Tabitha.
What?
She realized what we knew, and then she was told that he said that she had done it. That's when she told us everything.
No, you have it all wrong.
Faith says that around 11 p.m. on the night of January 1st, Raymond came home with blood on his hands.
Oh my God, what happened?
Raymond told her that he had just shot a man in self-defense.
He said someone tried to rob him and he had to kill them.
I had no other choice. It was either me or him. So, baby, I really need your help now.
What do you mean?
He begged Faith to go to the store with him to get cleaning supplies to clean up all the evidence.
Faith says she reluctantly did as she was told.
Wait. Don't sit there. That's what all happened. That's what all happened.
She said there was a sheet or something covering the front passenger seat, so he told her to get in the back, and she just got back there.
She did see blood splatter on the inside of the front passenger door.
Next, they took off into the night.
They stopped by 3 different stores to gather cleaning supplies.
She witnessed him throw something in a white sock into the river, which we can now assume was the murder weapon.
She said they came home, she went to bed, and he stayed up and cleaned the car.
And after that, I really didn't think much more about it until I saw Raymond's face all over the news.
She saw her husband's face plastered everywhere as a potential suspect in the murder of Tabitha Milton Rush.
So when Faith put the pieces of the puzzle together and she confronted him about this, he came clean. He said that he had been dating her on the side, and he shared that he had actually murdered her.
He begged me to help him establish an alibi.
Against her better judgment, Faith agreed to provide him with this alibi.
Just so you know, you have the wrong guy.
She admitted that he convinced her to tell the investigators that she was actually with him during the time period on January the 1st that Tabitha had gone missing and ultimately was killed.
But now that he's turned on her, Faith says she's not about to take the fall for him.
I would never, ever kill someone.
Police now have 2 very conflicting stories. It's he said, she said.
Investigators have to figure out who's telling the truth.
Nearly 1 in 6 women and 1 in 19 men have been stalked at some point in their lives. In 1 in 5 cases, stalkers use weapons to threaten or harm their victims. But the most common stalking tactics include repeated unwanted phone calls, voicemails, or text messages. Stalking victims experience significantly higher rates of depression, insomnia, anxiety, and social dysfunction compared to the general population. After speaking with Raymond Reed and his wife, Faith Tyler, detectives investigating the murder of Tabitha Milton Rush aren't sure who to believe.
This married couple is essentially blaming the crime on each other. They both say the other one did it.
Investigators have to figure out who they can trust, who's telling the truth.
There's one thing about Raymond's story that's giving detectives pause.
Raymond claims Faith shot Tabitha while they were sitting in the car outside of her home. But none of the neighbors recall hearing gunshots or any sort of commotion that night.
It's possible no one heard the shots, But it seems more likely that Tabitha was killed somewhere else, like in Faith's version.
And that's not the only strike against Raymond's version of events.
Raymond's phone records place him at the location where Tabitha's body was found. Faith's phone never left St. Louis.
Ballistics evidence also refutes Raymond's version of events.
His wife was right-handed. It would be virtually impossible for anyone with their right hand to reach around from the back seat and have that perfect straight-on trajectory, 2 shots.
Investigators become certain Raymond Reed is the person who fired those 2 shots.
On January 6th, Raymond is formally charged with first-degree murder.
Despite him continuing to try to maintain his false narrative, the investigators feel like they have a pretty good sense of what led up to Tabitha's death.
Based on the statements from his ex-girlfriends and conversations with Tabitha's friends and family, there's no doubt he was controlling and abusive.
And on New Year's Day, investigators believe Raymond's simmering rage boiled over as he was spying on Tabitha's house and saw Glenn drop her off.
He saw another man drop Tabitha off at home. He could not handle that, and he snapped.
Around 5:30 p.m., Raymond decided to put his plan into action.
Hey. Mind if I come in?
He knew Tabitha wasn't going to make a scene in front of her friend, so he used that opportunity to get into the home.
But after her friend left, Raymond confronted Tabitha about the man he'd seen earlier, Glenn Jenkins.
Well, what you don't understand? I mean, we're meant to be together, you know that?
Tabitha basically told Raymond to get over it because she didn't want to be with him anymore. She wanted to be with Glenn.
She told Raymond to leave.
You're not throwing me out, come on.
Get out.
But a few hours later, Raymond showed back up at Tabitha's house and somehow convinced her to get in the car with him.
You have 5 minutes.
They drive around the city, and we know what happens next.
He shot Tabitha twice in the left side of her head.
I don't know if this is any comfort to anyone, but I personally believe that she had no idea this was coming. I think she was looking straight ahead out the window, and he just shot her.
It's just so heartbreaking that she was able to survive cancer, but she wasn't able to survive this brutal man.
After Tabitha was dead, Raymond dumped her body in Bethalto and returned home to enlist the help of his wife in covering up the crime and establishing an alibi.
Baby, I really need your help now.
What do you mean?
His manipulation of Faith just goes to show what an awful person he really was.
For nearly a year, prosecutors build their case and prep Faith to testify against her estranged husband.
She was terrified to testify at trial. She did not want to have to testify, but she knew that for Tabitha and for Tabitha's family, that she had to do what she had to do.
With Faith poised to testify against him, Raymond realizes he doesn't stand a chance of convincing a jury that he's innocent.
It was going to trial a Monday after Thanksgiving, so the day before Thanksgiving, his attorneys indicated that he was willing to take a plea of guilty.
Raymond agrees to plead guilty to first-degree murder and concealment of a homicidal death in exchange for a lighter sentence.
He was sentenced to 38 years in Department of Corrections. That would make him about 84 if he gets out. So I was satisfied with that sentence.
One of the great tragedies of Tabitha's story is that she fought so hard. She had overcome that battle with cancer, but she ended up falling for this man who was just violent and toxic, and she unfortunately didn't survive that battle.
They don't tell you I'm a murderous narcissist right off the bat, right? This isn't one of those cases where, you know, the person's abusive over years and years and years and years. This is a very short period of time. They met in September, and 3 months later, he killed her.
I think every murder is senseless, but this one in particular, it's just senseless. What he took from so many people who loved her so much. It's a senseless loss of a beautiful life.
He was a very good boxer. He does a lot with building up the next generation of boxers.
He would train them after hours, keep them out of trouble.
It looks like a very gruesome crime scene.
He was just left there, not buried, just left in the grave. None of us had ever dealt with a case even remotely similar to this one.
She called and I recorded that conversation.
They come up with an idea to devise a plan.
You can't hear the details of it and not think this is something, out of a movie.
It's around 5 p.m. on July 21st, 2015. In a remote area north of Houston, Texas, police are on the scene of what appears to be a cold-blooded killing.
The area that this all took place in was the southern portion of Montgomery County, in a very remote area covered with trees, small body of water.
Montgomery County detectives are in this large deserted field standing over, it looks like a man-made grave. It's dug just a few feet below the surface, and once you kind of peek inside of it, you see a man who has his hands behind his back, only wearing his underwear or boxers, it appears, and he has blood coming from his nose, a gunshot wound to his temple.
He was just left there, not buried completely, just left in the grave.
Despite his injury, the victim is recognizable.
The individual in the grave was a gentleman that was fairly well known in the community as Ramon Sosa. He owned a local boxing gym and was fairly well known for that. To my knowledge, Mr. Sosa was a stand-up, productive member of the community.
It looks like a very gruesome crime scene, and detectives are canvassing that scene. They're taking photos, they're walking around, really just combing through every detail and inch of what they're seeing.
But what they ultimately uncover will be unlike anything they have seen before.
None of us had ever dealt with a case even remotely similar to this one.
Ramon Sosa was born in Puerto Rico on June 1st, 1967.
I'm the oldest, and Ramon is next. My sister is the youngest.
We moved from Puerto Rico when we were very young. We lived in Boston, Massachusetts. We lived in the Bronx in New York. Me and Ramon were always together, playing outside and riding bikes. We got along very well. He was always a good kid.
The family settled in Texas when Ramon was 12.
Ramon got into boxing because my father is in wrestling. And boxing is a major sport in Puerto Rico, where we're from.
He was a very good boxer. We used to go watch him. We hated going because it was like, we didn't like to watch him get hit or anything like that.
I think he tried out for the '84 Olympics. Unfortunately, didn't make it.
At the age of 17, Ramon decided that he wanted to take it pro and do professional boxing. Ramon's father actually solicited him to go to fight in Puerto Rico. And when he came back, his love for boxing kind of evaporated, or, it went away.
In his early 20s, Ramon took a job with FedEx.
As soon as he turned 21, he became a driver, moved to California, and did that, where he met his first wife, and his first child was born there in California.
After living in Los Angeles for some time, Ramon and his family, they decided to head back to Texas. And so they came back, to the Lone Star State.
When they came to Houston, they had 2 other children, and he was very happy.
But after almost a decade together, the relationship ended.
When she left the home and he came home to find an empty house, I was the first person he called. I mean, it just broke my heart to see him go through that.
That was okay if she didn't want to be with him, but he was always very attentive to his kids, always went and picked them up. The kids were always with him all the time. Honestly, those kids were very close to him.
They still maintained a very healthy co-parent relationship for their 3 children. So at some point, Ramon decides to pick up the boxing gloves again and revisits his first love at boxing.
As soon as he could, he introduced boxing to both of his boys. I think that brought them closer together. I think that's what made him start thinking about having a gym for, to train kids. He came up with the idea of Young Prospects, where he would have a place where the kids could come, have someone help them with their homework, and then he would train them after hours, keep them out of trouble, and have a safe place for them to stay at.
In the early days of the program, a young man showed up at the gym wanting help.
This young man, who went by the name Mundo, saw Ramon and saw how Ramon was helping young kids from going down the wrong path like he did. So he told Ramon, "I like what you're doing and I would like to help."
Ramon became just like a person he looked up to, a person that gave him guidance.
By 2007, Ramon was once again ready for love.
While out one night, Ramon is enjoying himself with some friends, and he looks across the club and he sees this beautiful woman. He's staring at her the whole night, and she may have caught on because at some point she walks over and steps on his foot accidentally. And then they look up and lock eyes, and he asks her, "Hey, can I take you, for a dance?"
It was love at first sight, like something out of a movie.
Ramon seemed like he was very happy whenever he was with her, and was always trying to do things with her.
Lulu was a divorced mother of 2 in the U.S. on a visitor visa from Mexico, living with her mother and sister.
I remember the first impression that I had of her. I mean, it was like, oh, she seems nice. And, she was always seemed very happy and outgoing.
I think what drew Ramon and Lulu together was the fact that, yes, she could dance salsa as well as she did. And when he told her about his dream of opening a gym, that she's very entrepreneur, and she picked up on that right away, and she agreed with that.
In 2009, Ramon and Lulu married.
Things are really going great for the newlyweds. They decided to open up a boxing gym in the Woodlands. Ramon really focused on the boxing and the physical agility side of things, while Lulu was in the back and maintained business operations.
The success of the gym allowed Ramon and Lulu to buy a house, multiple vehicles, and expensive jewelry.
If you saw the pictures of them together, you would think it was a happy marriage, but unfortunately that turned out not to be the case.
The relationship started to sour when Ramon and Lulu started having a difference of opinion on how to grow the business.
But the problems extended beyond the gym.
Her kids were into a lot of things that was not appropriate, and she was not happy because my brother would discipline them and tell them, "No, you can't be doing that stuff here in my house."
They couldn't see eye to eye on parenting styles, which caused a lot of division in the household.
In 2015, Lulu filed for divorce.
Ramon just bottled it up. He never told me about having problems with Lulu or, I'm having these issues.
It had only been on file for maybe 3 or 4 months. This one was no more contentious than other divorces I've been involved in. Stuff we see in just about every divorce, arguments over property and possession and access to the home.
But now, Ramon rests in a shallow grave in a remote corner of Montgomery County. As detectives and crime scene technicians wrap up, the crime scene suddenly transforms.
The photos were completely taken. We felt like we had what we needed. And then I remember jumping into the grave with Mr. Sosa, helping him up as he opened his eyes.
They see Ramon pull himself out of this grave. He appears to be very shaken up and very emotional from what he just experienced.
What appears to be a crime scene is actually an elaborate ruse meant to save Ramon's life.
We had to make it appear as though Mr. Sosa was dead. We had to stage his death.
All I can remember was the clicking of the camera as it went around me, and me thinking, what have I done?
An official message from Medic.
In July of 2015, Montgomery County, Texas detectives are helping 48-year-old Ramon Sosa climb from a shallow grave.
The police staged a crime scene to make it appear that Ramon Sosa had been executed and his body had been dumped in a shallow grave in a secluded area in Montgomery County. The plan was to fake his death and have it photographed.
The need for the elaborate plot came to light 2 weeks earlier.
Ramon and his friend Mundo go to the Montgomery County Constable's office and they ask to speak with detectives.
Mundo has some concerns about Ramon's wife, Lulu, wanting to hurt him.
He overheard a conversation between Lulu and her daughter expressing that Lulu wanted her husband dead.
So he confronts Lulu about what he overheard, and she confirmed that she wants Ramon to disappear.
I'm like, well, what do you mean, like disappear, like jail? It's like, no, disappear. You know, but she said this in Spanish, and whenever she said that, I went like this. I went like disappear, and she was like, yeah.
He did the pistol sign to Lulu like this, taking me away like that, and she said yes.
Mundo had a checker past. He wasn't shy about expressing.
She presumed that due to his past, he may have someone he could put her in contact with to discuss carrying out this plan to have Ramon killed.
Shocked but thinking on his feet, Mundo went along with it.
Well, so let me know, I might be able to get a hold of somebody. I might be able to contact somebody and help you out. And she was like, okay.
Mundo tells Lulu that he knows someone who can get the job done by the name of Paco, and they decide to discuss things from there.
Mundo really didn't know a Paco, so he came up with this make-believe assassin so that Lulu would not go out and hire someone that would hurt Ramon.
Instead of reaching out to a hitman, Mundo went straight to Ramon.
He calls me and he says, hey, Pops, I asked him to tell you this. I said, okay. He goes, Lulu, this lady, she wants to kill you. And I thought, because, we used to joke around all the time. And I said, Mundo, that's not funny. There's nothing to be joking around, man. What are you talking about? She said, no, I'm serious, Pops. She wants to kill you. She wants to have you killed.
Mundo goes straight to his friend and tells him, and they come up with an idea to devise a plan.
And he said, we're gonna meet up and start talking, and I'm gonna see how far she's willing to go with this. And then what I'm gonna do is record everything, and then we can go to the police and you turn her in.
Mundo also exchanged text messages with Paco to show Lulu he was serious.
Mundo came up with the idea, well, you know what we're gonna do? I want you to go get a burner phone, and I'm gonna text in front of her to that burner phone, and you're gonna act like you're one of the hitmen.
They tell police that Lulu and Paco even settled on payment for the murder.
Now she said, okay, I can't get y'all guys the money. She goes, what if I give them a truck and $2,000 later?
She even offered some of Ramon's jewelry as down payment to Paco.
Mondo worked up a deal that Paco would kill Ramon in exchange for the truck, Ramon's watch, and $2,000.
She's willing to have somebody killed for basically nothing. That's nothing, you know, it's a few $1,000s only.
I said, well, to start the hit off, they want $100 for them to buy the gun. She gives me the $100. I gave them this. There's the $100 right there.
When I found out that she was really serious about this and that she had given Mundo the money for the gun, that's enough, man. We're taking it to the police.
The seasoned detectives are stunned.
You can't hear the details of it and not think this is something, you know, out of a movie. It just doesn't happen in real life. One of the top tier things that we as investigators try to determine early on is a motive.
Detectives start inquiring about why would his wife want him dead, and he explains that they're going through a bitter divorce, and not only does she want him dead, she wants to take everything.
I told him that was the divorce, of course, and then I told him that it was financial.
Investigators know that if the bizarre story is true, they have to act fast.
Once we had a very clear picture of what we were dealing with, time was of the essence, and Ramon's safety and his life depended on it.
I didn't know she had a plan B or C, or she had already talked to somebody else. So many different thoughts went through my head. It was scary.
She called me, I recorded that conversation, which is on the USB.
As they leave, investigators give Ramon strict instructions to watch his back.
They said, okay, I'll tell you what, you know, we're gonna put a team together and we're gonna get back with you.
Detectives listen to the recordings.
Están pidiendo cash y los relojes, y luego están diciendo que los relojes no son la verdad, y le estoy diciendo, man, le dije...
Pues no valen mucho, ¿me entiendes? O sea, no es así que, wow, qué bárbaro, ¿no?
As they listen, they discovered that Ramon and Lulu have an upcoming court date for their divorce, which means that Lulu is on a timeline.
Y mira, yo lo que quiero es que pase. No me voy a echar para atrás, yo sé que esto es difícil, pero no nos ha quitado del seguro y no nos ha quitado de de nada. Tenemos las de ganar nosotros. Pero nada más, no los quiero presionar, o sea...
Their divorce proceedings were wrapping up, and her whole mission was to have this done before that happened.
She needs this to happen while they are still married so she can inherit everything.
But before they jump into action, investigators take a closer look at Ramon and Lulu Sosa.
Detectives have to do their due diligence and investigate both sides. So they start to uncover that Lulu actually was making allegations against Ramon.
Lulu had put a restraining order against me, so I couldn't be at the gym, and she couldn't come to my other gym, which was a nonprofit. She wrote a letter to the local police saying that I was very abusive, and she was fearing for her life and the life of her kids and her mother, and she couldn't live like that with me living in the house. They basically kicked me out of my own house.
Lulu had made some accusations of Ramon abusing her, marital rape, against my will. She had pictures of alcohol around the nightstand and around their bed.
I just started noticing how she slowly was trying to ruin my life, making false accusations, lying to people about me.
Investigators find no proof that her claims are true.
To my knowledge, there is no truth, no documentation, no evidence whatsoever that Mr. Sosa was ever abusive in any way to Lulu.
Instead, they discover that Lulu had financial trouble she hoped to resolve with Ramon's death.
It got to the point where everything around her was crumbling. The business was crumbling. She was late on the house, payments. The money was not coming in like when I was there, with her running the gym. And she had no other option than to get rid of me and get money as soon as possible. She knew how much money I have, my pension, my life insurance, and that's one of the things she said to the hitman, that, look, I want this done because if he dies after our divorce is finalized, his kids get everything. But if he dies before, while we're still married, I get everything.
Investigators are ready to arrest Lulu. But for the sake of Ramon's safety, they want to make sure the charges stick.
We wanted to be prepared legally to make sure all of our I's were dotted and T's were crossed. So we reached out to the Montgomery County District Attorney's Office.
In order to charge Lulu with solicitation for capital murder, they needed to make sure that she would follow through with the murder for hire plot.
They brought in the state police, FBI, and they put a plot together where they would have an undercover police officer start meeting with Lulu.
Using the burner phone provided by Mundo, the undercover agent texts with Lulu posing as Paco.
A lot of the dialogue between the undercover and Lulu did occur in Spanish. Spanish was her primary language, but it also propagated the authenticity of Paco, made her feel comfortable psychologically.
Mundo assisted in arranging an in-person meeting with the undercover agent posing as Paco and Lulu.
On the evening of July 20th, Mundo and Paco meet with Lulu in a department store parking lot.
Han pasado poquita información, yo nomás quiero saber, primeramente, pues, ¿qué tienes para el enganche?
Hablamos de qué cantidad es la que hablamos.
Pues, yo quiero que tú estés clara, ¿verdad? Porque, pues, es algo, o sea, tú dime, o sea, este güey lo quieres madreado, o quieres que lo quieres acabado, lo quieres muerto, o quieres que nos damos una putiza, o qué?
No putiza, yo lo quiero muerto.
So they start talking about compensation and they come up with a price.
Lulu did give Paco a $500 down payment and had actually gone through the ATM together so she could pulse the money out.
Once Lulu handed the undercover agent the $500, they had what they needed to arrest her. But they were still hesitant and wanted to make sure she did not stand a chance in court.
They explained to me Lulu's a beautiful lady, never been in trouble. She's a member of the community. We just hate for her to go to a trial and have one of the jurors feel sorry for her.
They knew that they had a lot on Lulu, but they had to have something more concrete. And so in order to do that, they came up with the idea of staging Ramon's death.
I'm Chef Andre Rush. I've seen action in Iraq. I've served 4 presidents. Now,
in July of 2015, police in Montgomery County, Texas, have just come up with an elaborate plan to ensure that would-be killer, Lulu Sosa, serves time for plotting to kill her soon-to-be ex-husband.
Every piece of evidence that we were able to gather was in an effort to strengthen this case. Again, Mr. Sosa's life depended on it.
To make sure they had a rock-solid case against Lulu, the police and Montgomery County prosecutors decided to stage Ramon's death and record the undercover agent showing her photos of the body.
On July 21st, 2015, officers summoned Ramon for a meeting.
When I get there to the police station, I noticed that there was other people involved in this meeting that I have not seen before, and they said, well, this is what we're gonna do. What we wanna do is take a picture of you basically dead to show proof that you're dead to her, and we wanna get her reaction.
They tell Ramon about digging a grave, using makeup to create the effects of a gunshot wound, the whole plan.
What we need you to do is go home now and don't tell anybody what's going on. So go home, get you some clothes for 3 days, and then come back over here, and we'll put the makeup on, and we'll take you to the location.
Soon after, Ramon returns.
They take his cell phone right away so that he cannot communicate with anyone and no one can track where he is.
We had never done something like this before, so that being the case and knowing what's at stake made it pretty nerve-wracking.
The DA or assistant DA pulled out pictures of actual dead people with bullet wounds to the head, and he picked that one and he said, "Okay, this is the one right here." These officers come up there and into the room and they put on the makeup.
My partner and I at the time had never applied this type of makeup to appear as though it was a realistic wound. But after watching a couple of YouTube videos and practicing on each other, we figured we might be able to wing it.
After applying the makeup, detectives put Ramon into the back of an SUV with blacked out windows.
They took me to a location not too far from my gym, and they had already dug up a shallow grave.
One of our commissioner's office point of contacts was able to get us a backhoe out there, and they actually dug the hole with a backhoe.
At the grave site, police instruct Ramon to strip down to his underwear and get into the grave.
I added more blood to my temple, my nose, my mouth, and basically taught me how to pose for the pictures. And they took pictures of me and I with my eyes closed.
While we were at the gravesite, there was a bit of a somberness to everyone, but I think that prevailing emotion was kind of masked with the professionalism. We have a job to do.
When I was lying in my own grave, thoughts of my kids, crossed my mind, my family, because I knew they were going to sooner or later see this picture.
Once we were satisfied and felt like we couldn't do anymore, we loaded up and headed out.
They told me now we're going to take it to a secret location because we don't want nobody to know where you're at.
They take him to a safe house where he is supposed to stay for 3 days, and he is strictly forbidden from communicating with anyone.
He had to remain completely out of sight. He was not to leave his hotel. He was not to communicate with anyone, period. Not his parents, not his children, no one. His life literally depended on it.
It was very, very difficult being in that room knowing that I knew sooner or later my family, my kids, my sisters and mother and father, sooner or later they were going to be looking for me.
But for now, Ramon has no choice but to wait.
I knew she was going to be arrested sooner or later. I just didn't know when, and anticipation kept me so nervous. Officers took the pictures of me. They told me we were going to take it to a secret location because we don't want nobody to know where you're at. We're going to keep you here. They took my phone away, and I can't get any calls.
Having not heard from him in several days, Ramon's family starts to worry.
At this time, I tried to call my brother and calling him and texting him. He was not calling me. He was not texting me back.
I'm calling Ramon, and Ramon is not answering. And Ramon is not answering. I'm worried.
On July 22nd, 2015, the undercover agent posing as a hitman named Paco meets with Lulu.
We had arranged Paco to meet with Lulu that night at the intersection of Interstate 45 and Rayford Road in the Specs parking lot.
As Lulu is speaking with the undercover detectives, the car is rigged with cameras and audio, so authorities are aware of her reaction to this.
¿Qué pasó?
Ya estuvo. ¿Todo bien?
Sí.
Ya lo agarramos ahora en la mañana.
¿En dónde fue? ¿Qué?
Saliendo de los apartamentos.
¿De los apartamentos?
Yendo para el trabajo.
Está bien. Está bien, pues.
Immediately upon her seeing the photos of him in the grave, she smiles. and you could tell she had a sense of relief about her. It was very chilling.
I mean, this is a man that you have created a life with. This is a man that you went to sleep with for, years, and you're gaining some sort of joy from his death. It was just utterly shocking.
Paco did tell her that, of course, he put up a fight, but they were able to overpower him and finish carrying out what they had planned on doing.
Lulu pays the undercover hitman $1,000.
Tengo 1000.
And she goes on to pay Paco, the undercover detective, the rest of the money for the job. Detectives are happy that they were able to pull this off, but they still just couldn't go and arrest Lulu.
We immediately transitioned into, we have a lot of paperwork to do now. We have to start drafting warrants and presenting this to the DA's office to make sure we had everything just right.
The following day, police arrive at the Woodlands gym, armed with a warrant.
We had decided that myself and a uniformed patrol deputy would go to the gym to speak with Lulu, under the guise that I was a detective working a missing persons report concerning her husband, Ramon Sosa.
By the time the police went to the gym, Ramon had been completely off the grid for 48 hours.
Apparently, Mr. Sosa hasn't been to work today.
That's what they told me.
When they begin to question her, have you seen your husband? She says, no, I have no idea where he could be.
She was thumbing through a lot of paperwork while answering, so she was avoiding eye contact. She was given some signs of deception and nervous behavior, but she was pretty good at trying to stay focused.
She tells detectives to check with Ramon's co-worker and another friend because she had not been in touch with Ramon due to the divorce and the restraining order.
Then, detectives inform her of the real reason for their visit.
We had in our hands an active felony arrest warrant for her for solicitation of murder.
Okay, Ms. Sosa, stand up, please. You're under arrest. You're under arrest.
Why?
Okay. Ma'am, it's okay. Stay back. We have a warrant.
Upon her getting put in handcuffs, she immediately would only communicate in Spanish and became uncooperative from that moment on. She was escorted out of the building and into a marked patrol car.
Lulu was arrested and charged with solicitation of capital murder.
After Lulu Sosa is arrested for hiring an undercover agent to kill her husband, she refuses to give a statement.
When we were back at the office, we gave her an opportunity to give us a statement. She didn't want to.
You've been read your rights, and I would like to speak to you. Would you like to speak with me knowing your rights?
No.
She said no, not without her lawyer present.
Once they have Lulu in custody, they reach out to Ramon, who is still essentially in hiding.
He'd been in a motel for 3 days, kind of hiding around, give the illusion he was in fact dead.
They called me and said, Lulu has been arrested. We're gonna have somebody go up there now and bring you back. And I remember sitting on the edge of my bed and tears just started running down my eyes.
There was a big sense of relief for everyone involved, probably more so Ramon than anybody, for obvious reasons.
Lulu's arrest makes immediate headlines.
Once the police went and got me and was bringing me back, the news had already hit. My mother's not very fluent in English, but she understands enough to understand what's going on.
When she heard the breaking news, pretty much all hell broke loose because my mom only heard Lulu's in jail and no one knew where Ramon was at.
She thought that Lulu had murdered me. And I finally arrived at their house I said, Mom, calm down. I'm okay. I'm okay. She kept hugging me and kissing me and crying and crying.
Ramon explains the whole story to his family, who just cannot believe a woman they knew all these years could do something so cold-blooded as this.
If you want a divorce, you're gonna fight to try to get as much as you think is owed to you. But to put a hit on him, never, never, never would I have told anyone that Lulu was capable of doing anything like that.
As Lulu awaits trial, the divorce is finalized.
We got all the, we got the cars, we got the house, we got the motorcycles. I think the only thing she got was he agreed to pay her $2,500, which is the amount she was gonna pay to have him killed.
On October 11th of 2016, Lulu pleads guilty to a second-degree charge of solicitation of murder.
The judge gives Ramon the floor.
It was a pretty emotional time. I think he got a little choked up, you know, saying this in front of a packed courtroom. And I know it hurt him to say it, but he was speaking from the heart.
I stand up and I said, you know what, Lulu, every person in here, we have all made mistakes. There's not a perfect person in this room. We have all made mistakes. Now you have to pay for the mistakes that you have done. And I said, I forgive you for what you did to me.
She would not look at him. My brother was talking to her and telling her that he forgave her, but she was just like, hurry up and get me out of here.
Lulu is sentenced to 20 years in prison. However, in November of 2023, Lulu was let out on parole under the circumstance that she would have strict supervision and she could not contact Ramon by any means at all.
Lulu wanted me dead and she wanted her way. And at the end of the day, I was the one that got everything, walked away, and basically lived happily ever after.
Ramon was the one who got vengeance in the end, and she lost her freedom, she lost time with her family and friends, so he was the one who truly earned the ultimate payback.
This whole experience has helped me a lot and actually has helped me to help other people. What I've done with my story is that I wrote a memoir, I Walked to My Own Grave. It goes into detail about everything that happened to me. And I also have done speeches.
Even though this was a horrible, horrible experience for Ramon and for all of us that went through it with him, the outcome couldn't be better for him because he's so much happier now.
Life is good. I'm blessed. I tell people all the time when they meet me that know that what happened to me, I just say, every day above ground for me is a good day.
The boxing community in Dallas is pretty small. Kids get to know each other pretty fast.
They was good kids. Flat out, simple. Good kids, too good for this world.
Police received calls about shots fired.
Officers get to the park. A lot of people are scattering.
There is a young man lying on the ground with a bullet wound to his head.
And what is consistent in the description of him is his role as a father. He was not somebody who was in the streets. He was not somebody who was a thug. He was somebody you could trust with your last dime.
Once my wife passed away, it hurt him. And things haven't been the greatest for Jakey. Once he got hurt, but in my heart, and I can guarantee you in a lot of people's heart, Jakey's a good guy.
At the conclusion of that phase of the trial, the jury determined that he would have a life sentence. This meant that to a jury who went back to deliberate, these were reasons why he should in fact be given a second chance.
For his role in the murder, Frank Barnes receives a sentence of 16 to 42 years in prison. But the outcome of this case remains controversial.
This homicide was quite alarming for the community.
These were young men that...
When I think of Scooter, I think of a sweet, small, thin kid. But when he hit the stage, that light hit him, he was a totally different animal. It was something in his eyes. It was almost like it was past hunger. I think that's what hurt so much when it happened later.
I remember them dragging him out the car, and he had like blood coming out his mouth. And I was just screaming, screaming, screaming.
Police here in Baltimore are used to acts of retaliation. This was payback on a whole nother level.
There was a bloody tennis match going back and forth throughout the city.
How many people you gonna hurt? How many people gotta suffer for it to end?
The saying is, if you're going to seek revenge, make sure you dig 2 graves.
June 25th, 2016. At 6:57 p.m., police in Baltimore, Maryland respond to an emergency call near Morgan State University.
We received a phone call from our dispatcher notifying that a shooting had taken place at Harford Road and Moravia Road. We responded out to the location. When we got out there were people everywhere.
The crowd is gathered around a gray Honda that has crashed into a liquor store. Onlookers say the vehicle careened off the road after it was shot at by an unidentified gunman.
The driver's side was literally riddled with bullets. There were a number of bullets struck into the car, into the roof, out the other side. Speaking with the primary officer, they gave me a breakdown about what took place. An adult male had been shot. Adult male was subsequently transported to Johns Hopkins Hospital.
The victim is 23-year-old rapper Tyrese Watson, better known to his fans by his stage name.
Someone came up to me and said that this is Scooter. At that time, I had no idea who Scooter was.
Tyrese Trayvon Watson was born on April 13th, 1993. He grew up near Pennsylvania Avenue in West Baltimore, a neighborhood with strong ties to Black music history.
Years ago, I'm talking like the 60s, 70s, you had the biggest names come to do concerts on Pennsylvania Avenue. Frank Sinatra, Commodores. This is where everything took place. Because of the influx of drugs that have infiltrated the community, there has been a fall off.
Young Tyrese's single mother did her best to provide for the family. But growing up poor in a rough part of town was never easy. To escape his surroundings, Tyrese turned to rap music, adopting the stage name Lil Scooter at an early age.
His mother attested to the fact that he would have his headphones on constantly, and he would constantly writing his lyrics in his notebooks and really living in that space.
He cared a lot about his mother. He put that in his music as well. He wanted the world to know what he's been through, the struggles, him and his mother had, and that his ultimate goal was to help her get in a better situation.
Scooter's rise to stardom would hit a few snags along the way. As a teenager, he got mixed up in some illegal activities and briefly lost sight of the big picture. In 2011, at age 17, he was arrested for drug possession. But this turned out to be a blessing in disguise.
Scooter was placed into a program called the Violence Prevention Initiative, or VPI. That helped guide him away from the continued course. He really took hold of more of the rap music than being in the street game.
I think he took off pretty quickly as it pertains to Baltimore. We're a hard town. Like, they always say you can make it here. No, seriously, if you can make it in Baltimore, you have really done it.
The community truly embraced Lil Scooter because they felt he was real. He didn't rap about what he heard someone else talk about. He didn't rap about what he thought would resonate with the people in his community. He rapped about what he lived.
In 2014, Scooter's song Bird Flu became the unofficial anthem of Baltimore's West Side.
While it has various meanings, our sports teams, the Orioles and the Ravens, are both birds. So there plays on that as well. So it galvanizes people around it from that aspect.
Everybody here, everybody in the state of Maryland believed in this kid. You had athletes dancing to it. You had Diddy shouting them out. You had Meek Mill shouting them out. It was like something the city never seen before.
His success inspired him to help create the West Side Entertainment Group, YBS.
YBS stands for Young Bold is Shining. They were very supportive of Scooter, very supportive of his career. They did everything they needed to do to make him that superstar.
Scooter's personal life was thriving as well. In 2016, he started dating fellow musician Taylor Johnson, also known as Sneaky T.
We were kind of always like popular in the city. Both had a name, we had mutual friends, so it kind of just happened. Scooter is a very caring person, demanding. he was a little demanding, but he was a man. Like, he would get stuff done.
He was really laid back and chill, but when he hit the stage and that light hit him, he was a totally different animal. You could tell that he was in his element, let's say that.
Scooter and Sneaky T even performed together once.
We had a booking together, and it was so fun. Just imagine you and your significant other are in the same field. Y'all both getting paid to do what y'all like to do, getting big money to do what you like to do. Y'all both coming home with a bag. Y'all both happy. Like, it was just, that was a great night.
As his reputation grew, Scooter began using his platform to spread a message of nonviolence.
He was one of the few people that you can actually see making it to the next level. I think Scooter was going to perpetuate that positive attitude and give everybody hope.
You know, he took his craft very seriously, spent a lot of time in the studio, and now he's going to peace rallies, trying to get back to the community, trying to tell kids that are coming behind him, you don't have to go that route.
On June 25, 2016, the day of the shooting, he was embraced by community leaders as a role model and symbol of Baltimore's future.
Stokey Canada, he organized a peace rally held at Morgan State University, a very prominent HBCU right here in Baltimore, Maryland. And Lil Scooter was in attendance. He and his girlfriend, he was actually a featured artist, a featured guest at this particular rally.
I felt like a part of my life, I made a lot of poor decisions, and I did things that I'm not or wasn't proud of at the time in my life, and I wanted to give people hope that change was possible. So I wanted to have a basketball game to use these influencers like Scooter to give young fans who wanted to see them do something other than what they normally do. Scooter wasn't a basketball player, but you can tell he was having fun.
For everyone involved, it was a major success. But less than an hour after the rally ended, tragedy struck.
I just remember, being happy that we had another successful event. And then I remember getting a call, leaving the gym, that Scooter got shot.
As Scooter is rushed to the hospital, Baltimore police began questioning potential witnesses. One of them immediately stands out.
My attention was really put toward a woman that was crying, very distraught, on the side of the road. Come to find out that was Taylor Johnson, the girlfriend of Lil Scooter.
Taylor says she was in the passenger seat when the vehicle crashed, but is too traumatized to remember exactly what happened.
When the police officer got there, I remember him saying, "What's your name? What's your address? What's your date of birth?" And I was like, "I don't know. I literally did not know. I couldn't tell him nothing." He was like, "Well, can you call somebody? Do you know a number?" And I remember grabbing my phone and dialing. I was calling everybody that was close to me, like, "Come right here."
As friends and family race to the scene, the detective receives devastating news.
He is rushed to the hospital, but despite doctors' greatest efforts, he dies from his injuries.
Remember like it was yesterday.
Baltimore police are investigating the death of rapper Lord Scooter, shot by an unknown gunman on his way home from a peace rally.
We had about 11 shell casings that were located in the intersection, were right at the light. The caliber of gun we discovered was a .40 caliber handgun. There were no shell casings in the vehicle, which leads us to understand that the shooters were clearly on the outside of the vehicle. All the shots were coming in from the driver's side into the vehicle.
His girlfriend, who was sitting right next to him in the passenger seat, left the scene physically unscathed.
I believe in God, and there was nothing but God watching over her during that time. There were bullet holes literally right over top of her head, where her head would have been. Had she had moved any other direction, she would have been killed also.
It seems clear Scooter was targeted. The question is why?
It's a major intersection. There are surveillance cameras in that intersection. And I remember them getting me the surveillance video rather quickly.
We were able to get video footage of Scooter and Sneaky T walking out of Morgan State University, going toward their car. Shortly thereafter, the Nissan Quest following them as they were traveling down Cold Spring Lane, which turns into Moravia Road. We're able to see the Nissan Quest do an illegal U-turn in the middle of the street and break fast going after them, going in that direction.
But the individual who got out to do the shooting couldn't make out that person very well from it.
Just after the shooting had taken place, coming into the parking lot, backing out, and then fleeing in the opposite direction.
Still recovering from shock, Scooter's girlfriend, Sneaky T, sits down with police.
It was very hot that day. Well, I remember me getting dressed at home. I had a show that day too. He didn't have a show, I had a show. So we was like, we're gonna go to the rally and then chill later until your show. We get to the game and me and my friend go sit in the bleachers. We were just chilling, playing on our phone, taking pictures. They, playing basketball. Nothing weird. It was just a normal day.
When the game ended, Taylor says she and Scooter got back in the car to drive home, but they weren't familiar with the area.
I'm from South and West, and he from West, so we really didn't have a real good sense of direction of where we were going. We used the GPS to get to the game. So we were leaving the game. I feel like I was typing in an address in my GPS or something. I remember hearing something loud, like a firework. And we both kind of like, up, like, like when you hear something loud, like, what was that?
She ducked down, tried to get as small as she could in the vehicle. Thank God she did.
And I heard another one. They kept coming, like, five, 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 five. The first shot, it was like a pop, like a pause with it or something. And then the shots kept going, so I just grabbed the door and just jumped out the car. As I got out the car, I was walking backwards. And I could see the shooter had like something white over his face. But you could tell that he never looked at me when I got out the car. Like never turned or like pointed the gun to me. Like he was determined, like he wanted Scooter. Like he knew what he wanted. And I remember walking like backwards, like crying, like walking backwards, but he was still shooting. Like he didn't stop, like he was still shooting. And then he ran. I knew Scooter was dead because the car started drifting. He couldn't hit the brake. I remember the car crashing and me just like falling to the ground crying. I remember people outside saying like, that's Sneaky T, that's Sneaky T. And I was just screaming, screaming, screaming. And then the police and the ambulance came. I just sat there and just looked at the car and was screaming until the police came. And I remember them dragging him out the car, and he had like blood coming out his mouth. And he had blood coming out his mouth, and I was just crying. I was like, is he gonna live? Is he gonna live? Asking the officers, like, is he gonna live? Is he gonna live? And they said, we gotta get him to, we just gonna get him to the hospital. I heard him get to the hospital. We gonna see, we gonna see. I just knew it wasn't good.
Unfortunately, Sneaky T has no idea who the shooter was or why he went after Scooter. But the news quickly spreads, and the community, often at odds with police, bands together to help find Scooter's killer.
The streets are talking, and we need those streets to talk to us. That's the thing about Baltimore. The people are resilient and always willing to give you another chance. And they rallied around this particular murder because he was relatable, and they saw him as somebody who had survived the odds and was doing the right thing. I think it was just this, we can't believe it. And who would do this?
Right away, the Baltimore police receive a record-breaking number of tips.
Scooter's murder woke the city up.
I had seen more than 300 plus murders in that year, basically. And all the murders that had taken place, I had never seen the abundance of tips that we had in this particular case.
The tips that were coming in ranged from who possibly had set him up to listen to the lyrics of this person rapping.
They wanted to provide things like links to different social media, links to other rappers who had song lyrics that could target Lil Scooter.
A lot of times in the hip hop game, and we've seen this for years. I mean, I grew up with East Coast, West Coast, Biggie, Tupac. You know, lyrics can sometimes get a little rough. And if one group thinks they're being played by another group, sometimes it doesn't stick with just being in the studio. Sometimes things pour out to the streets.
In the days following the shooting of Baltimore rapper Lil Scooter, investigators sift through hundreds of tips from the community. Most are dead ends. But a confidential informant working for police provides them with a name.
The informant reached out to their handlers and immediately told them exactly who was responsible for the shooting. Cortez Mitchell.
Cortez Mitchell is a 22-year-old resident of Glen Burnie, Maryland, a suburb of Baltimore.
Our informant was able to tell us right away that not only did Cortez Mitchell shoot and kill Scooter, he told him where the gun was. It was from there that a search warrant was executed, and the gun was located exactly where Cortez Mitchell had advised the informant where it was going to be.
Detectives only have the informant's word that the gun belonged to Mitchell and was the one used to kill Scooter.
Just because an informant says something, we don't go and lock someone up right away. We still have to do an investigation.
You want to send that gun to the lab. You want to match up ballistics. You want to get DNA or fingerprints. Unfortunately, some of these things take time, even if you get it rushed. This is a city now that is on pace for 1,000 shootings and murders every year, 1,000. So that's how much evidence is backlogged. That's how much evidence is being processed on a regular basis.
From this point in time, we want to look into Cortez Mitchell, get all of his background, learn about Cortez Mitchell.
While investigators wait for lab results, They talk to everyone they can find with information about Mitchell and any possible motive he might have had for killing Scooter. Word has it that Mitchell belongs to a rap crew known as the Young Go-Getters.
Cortez Mitchell is affiliated with YGG, Young Go-Getters, the opposite of YBS, Young Baller Shining, which is where Scooter was a part of. Once we saw that, we say, okay, this makes sense.
YBS is from West Baltimore, and YGG is from East Baltimore. The two don't get along.
Scooter's entertainment group, Young Baller Shining, or YBS, had an ongoing beef with Young Go-Getters, aka YGG.
You either live over East or you live over West. That's a Baltimore thing. Don't ask me why, it just is what it is. Very small, tight-knit communities that stick together.
You won't be able to tell if you're from out of town, but if you're from Baltimore, you can tell if someone's from East Baltimore or if they're from West Baltimore.
West Baltimore is known for young, fly, and flashy. West Baltimore is like where the fly guys at, where the fly girls at, getting money guys, getting money girls.
I don't want to portray it as a gang situation. I refuse to do that. It's not that. But there's a lot of stuff that can go along with this. History of East, West, redlining in the black community is something that's very serious.
Scooter rep YBS till literally the day he died. He loved his guys and he loved his crew.
He was loyal to a cause that he thought would change his life and the guys around him. And they was hopeful that Scooter could take the YBS brand to that level.
Some wonder if the beef between the crews is what got Scooter killed.
And I don't really think it was about him. I think it was about who he was associated with. It was a plan to get rid of the team, you know, and what better way to hurt you is take the top dog.
Early in their investigation, Baltimore police have identified 22-year-old Cortez Mitchell as a potential suspect in the murder of local rap star Lord Scooter. Since the two men belonged to rival crews, detectives believe it's possible Scooter was killed to send a message.
A lot of times, associates might do something that might lead to the person being killed. We were looking for other shootings that may have taken place and see if there was any connections with Scooter's case. That's when we found out about the Devontae Robinson case.
Police reports show that 24-year-old Devontae Robinson was shot in West Baltimore at approximately 1 p.m. on June 25th, only a few hours before Scooter was killed.
Now, according to witnesses of that shooting, Robinson was walking on the street when another man opened fire from a black SUV. Despite being shot 3 times, Robinson survived the shooting.
What we come to find out is that Devontae was loosely associated with the rap group YGG, Young Go-Getters.
That's Cortez Mitchell's crew. Although Robinson's shooter wasn't identified, detectives wonder if someone in the YBS crew might have orchestrated the attack. If one of Scooter's associates shot Robinson, it might explain why Scooter was killed.
Who is his homeboy? That's one of the things that we look for. Like, who's your main man? Who's your ride or die that's gonna be with you everywhere you go?
The person who best fits that description is 23-year-old Fred Catchings, a West Baltimore native and Scooter's childhood friend.
Catchings happens to be a close friend of Scooter and the YBS crew.
Had Catchings shot Devontae Robinson? Police learned Catchings was at Scooter's side in the hours before Scooter was killed.
What we come to find out is that Scooter was with Fred Catchings at the basketball game.
Catchings ended up leaving the game prior to Sneaky T and Scooter, and given the violence that followed, it's possible he was trying to avoid being ambushed by Robinson's crew. Instead, he might have gotten his friend killed. As investigators begin the search for Fred Catchings, countless mourners from the West Side gather to lay Scooter to rest.
Everybody was there. I mean, he had a line all the way down the street. It was beautiful. He looked like he was there asleep, but it was just hurtful, to see a young brother landing like that. It was just unbelievable this kid was gone.
There was hope that the remaining members of YBS would choose to follow Scooter's path of nonviolence and to end this cycle of payback for good.
There was this energy in that space where it was like these individuals were now carrying the torch. That Scooter had done as much as he could while on Earth in his short 23 years of living, and now it was incumbent upon them to take up that mantle. Don't let this derail you. Don't let this take you off your mark. Stay in the trenches and let's finish the work that Scooter was doing his best to do in his beloved city.
5 days later, the community is dealt another blow.
Scooter's manager, Trayvon Lee, is gunned down. And he dies from 2 gunshot wounds to the chest, just steps away from his home. From the outside looking in, it is abundantly clear that someone is working very hard to pick off individuals from Scooter's camp.
Earlier that morning, around 10:30 a.m., 3 other young men were ambushed by another unidentified shooter. It is unclear whether the shootings are related, but the violence in Baltimore is clearly escalating.
Police here in Baltimore are used to acts of retaliation. But what they learned with this case is that this was payback on a whole nother level.
The trail of violence begins to go back and forth. It was a bloody tennis match going back and forth throughout the city.
This city is definitely an eye for an eye. If you do something to somebody, your family member, somebody is gonna get you back.
Desperate to stop the violence, Baltimore police hold a press conference on July 7th.
You can't allow street justice to take place because it's only leaving family without their loved one.
A lot of people sit here and think, oh, you cut me, I cut you. You shoot me, I shoot you. But where do it end? How many people you gonna hurt? How many people gotta suffer for it to end?
This payback mentality is killing off so much talent. And you're taking food out of kids' mouths, because now this parent is gone that supplied food for all these families. It makes no sense to me.
It's sickening. It's heartbreaking. Everyone wants to get the last word. They don't want the police to be involved in it. They're gonna handle it themselves.
It's a disease that has to be stopped.
The murder of Baltimore rapper Lord Scooter has turned into an all-out war. And investigators are doing everything they can to put a stop to it. So far, they've been unable to locate the man suspected of instigating the cycle of violence with an earlier shooting, Scooter's friend, Fred Catchings. But on July 8th, police catch a break when he's pulled over during a traffic stop.
During that car stop, a gun is recovered. Catchings is placed under arrest, and that gun is linked to the shooting of Devontae Robinson, which took place just hours before and shooting and murder of Scooter. Fred was brought into our homicide office. I stepped in on the interview at that time, going back and forth. Fred began to open up about what took place with Devontae Robinson.
When confronted with the ballistics evidence and surveillance video, Catchings admits to shooting Robinson. He says he believed that Robinson was hired to shoot him, so he wanted to shoot him first.
This was the catalyst to everything taking place afterwards. Fred Catchings just shoots a member of YGG, Devontae Robinson. YGG comes back to shoot at Scooter.
Allegedly, the man sent to kill Scooter was Robinson's friend, YGG member Cortez Mitchell.
Fred Catchings says that while Devontae Robinson was in the hospital recovering from the initial shooting, his friend Cortez Mitchell hit the street looking for revenge. Retaliation needed to be felt. When they found out Scooter was at a public event that day, the peace rally, they wanted to hit him where they knew it would hurt.
What we come to find out is that the shooting of Scooter was in retaliation for what Fred had done to Devontae earlier that day. A payback, 100%.
And I was like, damn, that's kind of messed up. It hurt my feelings even more knowing Scooter wasn't the person or involved in whatever happened earlier that day. I had no idea about nothing, you know, and I could have died with something I had nothing to do with.
Investigators charged Catchings with murder and turned their focus to Mitchell. When the crime lab completes its tests on the gun recovered after Scooter's shooting, they confirm it was the murder weapon. Unfortunately, there's no way to prove Mitchell pulled the trigger.
Okay, we've heard that Cortez Mitchell did this. We've matched the ballistics. That still doesn't say Cortez Mitchell did it.
No prints recovered from the gun, but fingerprints are very fragile. They aren't always there. Building a case, it's not what you know, it's what you can prove.
And I think this is a part of a frustration for the public. It's like they say, y'all know who did it. But investigators get one bite at the apple because of double jeopardy. Just because you know who did it, you have to be able to prove beyond a reasonable doubt when you take it into court. And if you don't have it, you can't bring those charges.
As they work to develop more evidence, detectives fear the violence will continue.
Street justice doesn't operate on probable cause or beyond a reasonable doubt.
The streets don't need the same amount of evidence to bring someone to trial. You said he did it, I know he did it, we're gonna take care of it ourselves.
On October 10th, 2016, those fears are realized.
Before investigators can make a move to arrest Mitchell, gunfire erupts in West Baltimore once again. Cortez Mitchell and Devontae Robinson were together in a vehicle stopped at a red light when an unknown gunman opened fire, killing Mitchell and wounding Robinson once again.
Cortez Mitchell was shot and killed. Literally the exact same way that Scooter was shot and killed. In a vehicle, at a stop. The saying is, if you're going to seek revenge, make sure you dig 2 graves. This is a prime example.
As soon as this happens, you go right back to, this is payback, this is retaliation, this has got to be linked to this event.
Since Cortez Mitchell was the only suspect for the murder of Scooter, his death ends the investigation, although plenty of questions remain.
Bringing this case to a close was bittersweet. It was, yes, we wanted to get the person involved in the murder of Scooter. No, we didn't want anyone else to die in the process.
Does that give the family the closure that they need? I don't know, only they can answer that. Because sometimes you want to see them in court, and it's whether they say, I'm guilty because I did it, or the judge or jury says you're guilty because the evidence says so.
For the community, it's not enough. They want someone to be held accountable, not only for Scooter, but to send the message that continued violence won't be tolerated.
With Scooter's suspected killer now murdered, prosecutors push forward to try Fred Catchings for the initial shooting that allegedly spawned this cycle of payback.
But the violence is far from over. More than a year has passed since the string of shootings that claimed the lives of multiple men, including Baltimore rapper Lil Scooter. And the city is still reeling.
Scooter has so much potential. He He had kids like literally passing out, like to get next to him. My son was probably about 3 or 4 at the time, and he loved Scooter. Losing him, it's like everybody lost someone that day.
It's a tragedy worsened by the fact that the man who may have set it all in motion was one of Scooter's oldest friends, Fred Catchings.
I didn't know Fred as well as I knew Scooter. From what they say, he was in the streets and he was about his business, but I didn't see that in Scooter. Scooter stood for what he stood for, and if he had an issue, I'm pretty sure he would do whatever it is he had to do, but not just outright just trying to hurt somebody.
Regardless of what you end up doing, you have to watch your circle. And even when you might be making it, it might be some people that still are trapped in that world and lost in that world, and they can bring you down if they're not ready to get out.
Fred Catchings decides to make a deal with prosecutors.
Catchings initially pleads not guilty to charges of attempted murder, but with the evidence and his own admission, he ultimately pleads guilty to 2 counts of attempted first-degree murder and the use of a handgun.
In August 2017, Fred Catchings is sentenced to 32 years in prison. But the cycle of violence doesn't end. In 2019, his intended victim, Devontae Robinson, is targeted by someone else.
Devontae Robinson was later shot and killed, literally in the exact same way that Cortez Mitchell was shot and killed and Scooter was shot and killed. And we're still looking for the persons responsible for that.
The murders of Devontae Robinson, Cortez Mitchell, and Scooter's manager, Trayvon Lee, remain unsolved.
It's not the closure anyone was looking for, but those who remember Lord Scooter will always find inspiration in his life and his music.
There are certain preludes in life that leads to success, whether it be a better education, a good job. Scooter found a future in his talent as a rapper.
People need to hear his story because, you know, he came from a struggle and survived some things and was trying to do the right thing and show young people the right thing.
I think he's seen what the other side looked like. I think he felt it, he could smell it. And, you know, for him not to be able to complete that task, you know, was unfortunate. Not only for the complexity of that situation, but the entire culture of Baltimore, young men and women.
One thing I will say to up-and-coming artists, the children that look up to artists like Scooter, you don't have to go the street route. There's nothing glorious about starving and selling drugs and killing one another.
Some couples share an instant bond.
They were hot, they were heavy, and things were incredibly steamy between the two of them.
She was kind of swept off her feet, wanted to wine and dine her and really take care of her.
She had someone who wanted to be an active part of her life.
And that intense connection can grow into a common purpose.
They were struggling to make ends meet, so he turned to his past for a way out. She was all in, ready to face it together.
But what happens when that purpose blinds us to the difference between right and wrong?
She got in way too deep, but little did she know that what she was doing for her man was about to change the entire trajectory of her life.
December 2nd, 2016, Orlando, Florida. It's early morning in the city known as O-Town.
When people think of Orlando, they think about going to Disney World, they think about all the fun, just a real mecca for children, actually. It's like a dream, a fairy tale for people when they think about going to Orlando.
Orlando, Florida receives thousands and thousands of visitors every year. And typically people think of it as a very well tended to, well taken care of, fairly affluent area of the state. However, there is a portion of Orlando known as Pine Hill, which is in stark contrast to what we typically think of when we think of Orlando, Florida.
The Pine Hills neighborhood is hardly a magic kingdom.
Pine Hills, they call it Crime Hills because of so much crime.
There's a lot of issues over there. There's a lot of poverty, particularly in that area where you have poverty and the socioeconomic issues there. It leads to crime because a lot of the people that live there feel that they're trapped in some way. They can't advance the way they want to advance, so they resort to crime.
At 5 a.m., Barbara Webster is starting her morning work routine with a coworker at the Fresenius Medical Care Dialysis Center.
It was a beautiful day. We came in at 5 o'clock. By 6 o'clock, we were putting patients on a machine.
Suddenly, a coworker comes racing into the building in a panic. She's screaming that their colleague, Gregory Whitbeck, has just been shot.
Greg stumbled into the building. And when I saw him, I said, "What's going on? Are you okay?" And he just stumbled in, did not know what was going on.
Barbara notices that Greg's leg is bleeding, but it's obvious to her that something else is wrong.
He just started trying to reach out for me, and so I opened up his shirt and then turned him around and saw the bullets in his back.
Greg loses consciousness, and Barbara lets her medical training take over.
And I started doing CPR right there and then. My thoughts was just, please, God, let him make it through. Please, just let him make it through.
Minutes later, EMTs arrive.
The first responders were able to get there pretty fast. Unfortunately, the injuries were too great, and Greg Whitbeck died at his beloved place of work, surrounded by his close friends and colleagues.
For Barbara, one of Greg's closest friends, the news is devastating.
I could not hold it, just screamed. They had to take me out of the clinic and take me in the back. It was like a dream. I mean, we lost somebody we cared about, we loved so bad. Somebody that was the only man in there that we thought I would protect us. And he was gone.
Gregory Whitbeck was born on January 21st, 1961, at Loring Air Force Base in Maine.
His father was in the Air Force. His mother, Evelyn, was a homemaker, and she took care of their 5 children that they had together. Greg was the only son, had 4 other sisters.
Of course, coming from a military parent, there was discipline, lots of it. However, though, there was no shortage of love. His sisters and him, they all knew that their father deeply loved them, and they had a nurturing and caring mother to take care of them.
As a military family, they moved from state to state and eventually reached the other end of the country.
By the time he entered middle school, he had moved to Washington State, and he attended Tacoma Junior Academy. When he went to high school, he attended Auburn Adventist Academy.
He moved up to the state of Washington and attended Walla Walla University for both his bachelor's and master's degree in social work.
After graduation, Greg and his father opened an assisted living facility in Washington State, which they ran for close to 20 years.
He honed his skills. He had a fantastic bedside manner. The patients loved him. His employees loved him. He was devoted, he was dedicated, and he really had a heart to serve his community.
When his dad retired, Greg decided to strike out on his own, moving to a sunnier climate.
He moved cross country all the way to Orange County, Florida, where he started his first job at a Head Start program.
Once again, serving the community, serving the children of that community, helping them to, gain better literacy skills, gain better educational resources, and just really serving the children of that underserved community.
A woman named Josette Zephyr came to his office. Greg was struck by her beauty and charm.
He was playing Kenny G music in the background. And she came in and asked him a couple of questions about some programs that were due to start later on that day. And from there, they sparked up a conversation.
They start talking, and then the chemistry is there.
Greg told Josette he had a daughter named Crystal from a previous relationship. Any concern that she might be turned off by this quickly vanished.
That can be a little bit tricky because that might push a love interest away. You know, if they're not prepared to step into that role, if they're not prepared to take on a child as their own, that can be a little off-putting. But Josette was totally open to it.
In fact, it seemed to captivate her even more. Just the fact that he was a family man and he had honor and integrity.
Greg and Josette soon found themselves embarking on a whirlwind romance.
They had a great relationship starting out. They were best friends. They talked about everything. They were excited to see that love blossom. On September 20th, 2008, Greg and Josette made it official and became husband and wife. About a year later, Greg also transitioned into a new role at a kidney dialysis facility in Orlando. He really helps those people in the community that are facing kidney issues and having to undergo dialysis. So he tends to their physical care, their mental health. He helps them socially to get everything that they need in order to receive the care that they deserve.
Greg spent 13 years at the center. During that time, he and his co-workers grew extremely close.
He was more than just friends. We were a family in this clinic. He cared about people.
But now, Greg is dead after a shooting in the parking lot of the dialysis center where he worked. Homicide detectives arrive at the scene and begin questioning Barbara and the other employees.
The first question detectives asked is, why was Greg outside in the parking lot?
When Greg came in, I was in the back getting ready to go on break, and Greg said that he was going to go back outside to drop some papers off to somebody, another social worker.
Crime scene analysts search the parking lot and find one .32 caliber shell casing.
At first glance, the details didn't quite add up. Greg has appeared to be shot twice, once in the leg and once in the back, but only one shell casing was found. Since it happened in the parking lot, it's possible the second shell casing rolled away or either got caught in the suspect's clothing.
They make note of the caliber of the gun because that's going to become relevant in ascertaining the murder weapon.
Police then canvass the area, looking for anyone who might have witnessed the shooting.
They, of course, interview the person who called 911, and that was Kristen Ayers, the employee at the Dunkin' Donuts in the same strip plaza. And she described for them what she saw exactly. She noticed that Greg Whitbeck was outside in the parking lot, and a vehicle pulled up. And it was a silver grayish vehicle. And she noticed two people in the vehicle. She noticed a young man who looked young, probably in his mid to late 20s. And she also noticed a female who was behind the wheel of the vehicle.
She recalls that the young man quickly got out of the passenger side of the car and approached Greg.
They basically exchanged words. She did not hear the words, but it didn't seem friendly. And after that, she noticed that they were physically wrestling.
Kristen says that shortly after, she heard two gunshots ring out and then saw Greg doubled over.
He gripped his side and leaned over as though he had been injured.
He was kind of slumped over, hunched over, grabbing his side and stumbling, fumbling back into the medical facility.
Kristen tells detectives that the young man jumped back into the car and it sped off. She then raced to the phone and called 911.
Of course, it frightened her because they're in Pine Hills. She was scared, and she called the police.
She said the young black male, who was the passenger, looked to be about 5'10" with a slim build. And she also noticed that the driver was a black female.
She didn't really get a great description of the female as she was in the driver's side, but she did notice that there were two assailants in the vehicle.
Given that the shooting has taken place in a high crime area, detectives have to wonder if the shooting may have been a robbery gone bad.
In fact, in the 2 months prior to Greg's murder, there had been 8 reported shootings in the Pine Hill neighborhood, with 5 people killed and 5 more injured.
The witness provides one other detail. She says that when the car fled, she noticed something unusual about the rear license plate.
She said the license plate looked like it was paper, which probably mean it was a temporary tag. And that usually mean that the car was either new or recently had been sold.
It's not much of a lead, but right now, it's the only lead that detectives have.
Community leader and beloved social worker Greg Whitbeck is tragically shot in the parking lot of the medical clinic where he worked. The Pine Hills community in Orlando is known to be a rough and tumble neighborhood with more than its share of random violence.
The detectives had to take into account the area that they were in. There had already been previous shootings, other crimes that had already taken place, so they weren't sure if this was just some random robbery gone wrong or what.
But when detectives check Greg's clothing, they find his wallet. Nothing appears to have been stolen.
On the surface, that might suggest that it wasn't a robbery gone bad. But the witness at Dunkin' Donuts said she saw Greg and the man tussling. So that might mean that Greg refused to give the man his wallet, and that's why he was shot.
Police begin the difficult task of notifying Greg's family of his death. His wife, Josette, is stunned by the news.
She was devastated, she was distraught, she broke out into tears. She reacted in a way that was you'd expect for someone who lost a husband.
They asked if Greg was having problems with anyone. Did he have any enemies or anyone that might want to do him harm? And she said everyone loved Greg.
She told them she had no idea who would want to harm her husband.
They also asked Josette about her relationship with Greg.
Do they have a happy marriage? Has there been any marital conflict in recent history? And Josette says everything is great. They have a loving relationship. Nothing is wrong.
Detectives then visit with Greg's mother and sisters. Most are shocked by Greg's passing, but one sister, Diane, is not.
Diane has quite a bit to say about her sister-in-law, Josette, where Josette made it seem like her, Greg, and their daughter, Crystal, were one big happy family. Diane had an entirely different story to tell.
Diane says that while the marriage may have begun as a fairy tale, it eventually turned into a nightmare for Greg.
Diane says that Josette and Greg were anything but happy. In the later years, they had a lot of issues. Josette had become very confrontational, often being very insecure and accusing Greg of possibly cheating on her or disrespecting their marriage. Things were very argumentative and just contemptuous between the two of them.
As we know, many times sisters can be so overprotective of their brothers. She had a lot to say when it came to law enforcement. She told them his wife was verbally abusive. The relationship had turned totally toxic. He didn't feel as though there was anything that could salvage their relationship.
Diane tells detectives that Greg had an epiphany the night before he was murdered.
Greg had come to their mother's house and had dinner with her and her mother. And Greg told his mother that he has planned on leaving Josette, and he's finally done with her for good.
He told his mother, if anything happens to me, look to Josette.
Diane then tells detectives that when Greg began complaining about Josette several months earlier, she decided to do a little sleuthing.
Diane has done her own independent investigation on her sister-in-law, and she has found some shocking evidence. She's found that Josette has been married 6 times before, which is just shocking to her.
In addition to that, she used multiple aliases. She had fake birth certificates and a whole bunch of other things that would just make anyone think, what's really going on here? Why all the aliases? Why all the marriages?
She's not even sure if Josette is her real name.
Detectives ponder this new information. Why would Josette murder Greg? Why not simply divorce him? Diane thinks she has the answer.
Greg had a sizable 401k. Was it possible that she could have done a murder to get that money? Detectives always know that money is a very powerful motive.
Detectives return to the dialysis center to ask Greg's co-workers about the accusations. Barbara Weston confirms that Josette was extremely jealous.
Greg could not have friends at work. He did everything he could, to make her sure that, these are just co-workers, these are family, these are just friends.
Co-workers say Josette would even surprise Greg at his office, hoping to catch him with another woman.
His wife had shown up to the facility several times with some bizarre behavior, causing a scene, being very aggressive.
She would just come and just show up and just, it was a place of work. And he was well respected by his patients and his friends. And to show up and argue, and that was not Greg.
Any person that goes to, your spouse's job to wreak havoc and say all these crazy, outlandish things, that speaks a lot.
According to co-workers, Josette's behavior forced the office to take extreme measures.
We had to block her. The boss actually had to block her from coming to the clinic.
Josette's bizarre behavior and apparent threats have made her the #1 suspect in Greg's murder.
The eyewitness said Greg was shot by a man, but she also said that a woman was driving the silver sedan.
It's just astonishing to everyone who was in the facility at the time that even with wounds, that Greg was thinking about the greater good of everyone in that facility at the time. Greg stumbles into the medical facility, buzzes the colleague who is outside into the facility so that she's safe and protected, so that nobody else can get in and do any harm to his colleagues turned family inside the facility.
December 4th, 2016. The family and friends of 55-year-old social worker Greg Whitbeck have told Orlando, Florida police detectives that they suspect his estranged wife, Josette, may have been involved in his murder.
They know she can't be the shooter because witnesses say it was a man. But a woman was driving the getaway car, and that could have been Josette.
Detectives obtain a photograph of Josette and return to the Dunkin' Donuts and their main eyewitness, Kristen Ayers.
They ask Kristen if Josette looks familiar. Was this the getaway driver of the vehicle that you saw the morning of Greg's murder? And Kristen cannot confirm or deny. It was quite a bit of a distance away. It was from an angle that she was watching all of this happen. And again, she was in the middle of work, kind of back and forth, dealing with customers and watching the scenario unfold.
Kristen describes the vehicle as a silver sedan. Motor vehicle records show that Josette doesn't own such a vehicle.
That doesn't clear her. The vehicle might have belonged to the man that did the shooting, or it may have been borrowed or rented. There is no way to tell at this point.
Detectives look further into Josette's whereabouts the day of the murder, and they don't really find anything that would raise any alarm bells for them. They did not find any cell tower pings, coming from her cell phone number at the time of the murder. So they're led to believe that if Josette is involved, it would be more of a murder for hire plot versus Josette physically being involved in what occurred that day.
Detectives return to Josette's house for a second interview, but she sticks to her story.
They asked her, is there any problems in the relationship? Is there anything we should be aware of? She told them they had a great relationship and that there was nothing going on, and she had no idea who would want to harm her husband.
They even asked Greg's daughter, Crystal, if she noticed anything unusual around the house. But she was in the dark as to what was going on between her dad and Josette.
She didn't have any information because her dad had worked very hard to shelter her from knowing his marital problems. He believed that grown people needed to handle their business and keep kids out of it and protect his daughter is what he did. So Crystal was none the wiser. She had no idea that her father and stepmother weren't getting along or that their marriage was in shambles.
Detectives appear to hit a dead end. But back at the station, as they comb through police reports, they uncover unusual activity in the Pine Hills neighborhood on the morning of Greg's murder.
In the 90 minutes or so preceding the shooting at the dialysis center, 2 armed robberies took place, both of them involving a silver sedan.
The first robbery involved a young man named Houston Willis.
He was on his bicycle heading into work, and he describes that a car, a silver grayish vehicle, pulled up in front of the path of his bicycle and stopped him from moving any further. Houston describes that the young man jumps out of the passenger side of the vehicle and holds him at gunpoint. Then he yells at his driver to get out of the vehicle and grab his backpack. And then they both jump in the car and speed off.
The brazen robbery nets the bandits very little money.
Houston says that the only thing he had in his backpack at the time was his cell phone and his wallet containing just $3. But he was traumatized nonetheless.
He gave the detectives a general description of the 2 robbers, who seemed to match the couple that killed Greg Whitbeck. It all happened so fast that he wasn't really able to study their faces or give any real details.
Houston's description of the vehicle matches that seen by the Dunkin' Donuts employee when Greg Whitbeck was shot. About an hour later, a woman named Carla Mitchell comes to the station to share her story of a similar encounter at an Orlando daycare center.
Detectives interview Carla Mitchell, who was getting her 3-month-old child out of the car in the parking lot of the daycare facility where her child attended.
She says the male passenger, which she describes as a young black man, points a gun in her face and orders her to give him her valuables.
She has a headset that's valued at about $150, a cell phone, and her wallet containing $140 cash.
She says the man jumped back into the vehicle and drove off.
Again, everything happened so fast that she can't give a detailed description of the robbers. Black male, medium height, and build. But it's the same general description as the other witnesses. And she also says they are driving a small silver sedan.
This time, there's another witness, a security guard who is stationed across the street.
He saw what was going on, and he was able to see the tags on the vehicle, and he noted that they were temporary tags.
This vehicle with a temporary license plate is the very same vehicle and description of the vehicle that pulled into the parking lot and killed Greg Whitbeck. This vehicle with a temporary license plate was the break in the case that the police needed.
Three days after the fatal shooting of Greg Whitbeck in the parking lot of an Orlando dialysis center, investigators have uncovered their first major break in the case. The silver sedan seen fleeing the scene the day of the murder matches the description of a vehicle seen at 2 other robberies.
The robbery of the bicyclist happened first, about 90 minutes before Greg's shooting. And the robbery at the daycare was just 15 minutes before Greg was shot. So they all happened about the same time and in the same general area.
The description of the robbers are the same. The description of the vehicles are the same. So there is little doubt that these robbers are connected, committed by the same 2 people.
Detectives run the tag through motor vehicle records and learn it is registered to a 24-year-old woman named April Koger. April Koger was born in 1992 in Orlando, Florida. She gave birth to her first child while still in high school. A second child came 3 years later. April quickly found herself struggling to provide for her family.
The father of her children didn't even want to have anything to do with his own children. He was not in their lives. He wasn't providing any kind of financial, emotional, or physical support for the children.
April really had no means to provide for her children, so she ended up moving in with her mother.
But April saw a ray of hope when 23-year-old Kenny Cheney walked into her life.
April says that she was kind of swept off her feet by Kenny. You know, he kind of came in and just wanted to be the man for her, wanted to wine and dine her and really take care of her.
He was a lifeline. He came to her rescue. He was a good father figure for her children. He seemed to be family-oriented and seemed to be exactly what she wanted and needed.
But as time went on, their financial troubles grew. Kenny, who had a criminal record, couldn't seem to find steady work anywhere.
Given his criminal background, as you can imagine, it was hard for him to find employment that would really provide for himself and April and the two children. It just became a challenge to make ends meet for the both of them.
Kenny, who wanted to provide for his newfound family, became stressed, and April did her best to encourage him, telling him to stay positive, hoping their luck would change.
With the license plate to April's car matching the silver sedan seen at the robbery scenes, detectives go to April's home. But neither April nor her car are present. They decide to use a different tactic.
They're also able to determine that the vehicle was recently purchased from a local establishment called Sam's Auto Sales. They also go down to Sam's and they are able to speak with the salesperson who sold the vehicle. He says that their facility is a buy here, pay here lot, which enables people to purchase the vehicles and pay the bill over time.
The salesman also tells detectives that April's car, like most of the cars they sell, is equipped with a GPS tracking device.
All the buy here, pay here that I know of, they have GPS tracking devices because a lot of times those buy here, pay here car dealerships, the cars end up getting repoed because they can't afford the payments.
When people get behind on their cars, they disable the cars and then they're able to track where it is and go pick it up to repossess it.
The salesman provides all of the tracking data from April's car. It's an aha moment for detectives.
They are able to determine that the silver gray vehicle that was sold at that facility was actually present at each of the locations of all three robberies at the time that the robberies occurred.
The salesman has something else for detectives.
The GPS tracker is not only able to track previous locations, but is able to track the current location. That is exactly what law enforcement needed.
And they find out where the car was, which was not too far from the house.
Detectives send officers to the location of the vehicle, warning them that the occupants are likely armed and dangerous.
When they get there, what will they discover? Will it be a peaceful surrender, or will it be a shootout?
With the help of a car salesman and GPS tracking data, investigators have identified the vehicle used in the murder of Greg Whitbeck. Now, Orlando police officers are heading to the location of the car and its likely driver, 24-year-old April Koger.
Detectives know that the robberies and the murder was committed by a man and a woman, and that it was the man that was armed with the handgun. Will this man be with her? Are they now outright committing more robberies? Nobody knows.
Police spot the silver sedan in a residential neighborhood. There's only one occupant in the car, a woman.
She identifies herself as April Koger. They explain to her that she has a warrant out for her arrest, and she peacefully surrenders.
They are most concerned about also apprehending her accomplice, the male accomplice in these crimes. April tells detectives that her accomplice is 23-year-old Kenny Cheney, her boyfriend, and he is staying with her at her home on Imogene Court.
The officers run a background check on Kenny Cheney. They learn he is no stranger to law enforcement.
Kenny has a very long rap sheet. He has committed several crimes over the years, and he's currently on probation for armed robbery. Armed with all of this information, the police are able to obtain a warrant for Kenny Chaney's arrest.
The police go to April's home and Kenny opens up the door. He peacefully surrenders.
Armed with a warrant, investigators search the home for evidence of the crimes.
They find a .32 caliber pistol, which is the same caliber that was used in the murder of Greg Whitbeck. They also find 2 cell phones and a purse belonging to Carla Mitchell. They also find the backpack that belonged to Houston Willis that was stolen from him in the armed robbery that he described.
Detectives are confident that April Koger and Kenny Chaney are the 2 people responsible for the string of robberies and Greg Whitbeck's murder, but they want to hear it from them.
Detectives are able to sit down with April for an interview, and they notice that she is super nervous. And April admits that she's never been in trouble with the law before. She's feeling very unsettled, and because of that, she agrees to be very forthcoming, very transparent.
April tells detectives about how she met and then fell for Kenny. He was everything her children's father wasn't, and tried to take care of her and her kids.
She had someone who was there and who actually was present and concerned and wanted to be an active part of her life.
But his criminal record made it hard for him to get and keep a job. And Kenny noticed that he was disappointing April by not being able to provide for her.
April tells detectives that as the holidays approached, Kenny decided to take action.
Christmas was right around the corner, and he wanted to provide gifts for the kids and April, and he came up with this plan to make money fast. He told April that he wanted to take the little money that they had and buy a vehicle and go out and find easy victims to rob.
April says she simply trusted Kenny and agreed to go along with the plan.
She had no criminal history. She had not been involved in anything like this before. So to her, naively, if you will, it seemed like this was a good option.
She says Kenny wanted to commit the robberies early in the morning when there would be few witnesses. Minutes before 5 a.m., they spotted Houston Willis on his bike.
He looked like an easy target. It was just him by himself, not really any witnesses around.
He put the gun to him, and he only got $3 from it in a phone. So that wasn't a good lick.
Their next target is a woman carrying a baby. But again, their haul is less than expected.
Carla only had about $140 in cash in her purse and some electronics worth about $150. But that was really still not enough for them to do anything with. So they continued looking for their next victim. And they happened to pull up by the shopping center where they noticed Greg Whitbeck standing outside in his white lab coat.
He thought 3 times would be a charm. I know this man, he has a coat, he's a doctor, he has money. This is our lick right here.
What they didn't anticipate was that Greg was a fighter. So he actually, wrestled with Kenny in that parking lot. And unfortunately, Kenny, either inadvertently or intentionally, pulled the trigger and shot Greg twice in order to get his money.
April says she never anticipated someone would be shot. Kenny jumped back into the car and ordered her to flee.
In his haste to get away, Kenny didn't even take Greg's wallet. In other words, he killed him for nothing.
All the evidence seems to be pointing toward an armed robbery gone wrong. But detectives still have questions about Greg's wife, Josette.
Was this just 2 individuals trying to make money to feed their children? Or did Josette hire these 2 individuals to commit a murder and make it seem like an armed robbery gone wrong?
April and Kenny seem to be polar opposites. April has no history of any kind of criminal activity, yet she's associating with a man who has a very long rap sheet. He has a strong history of criminal behavior. What's the attraction here? April got in way too deep. She just thought that they were on some financial hard times and that this was a way to get some quick money and that no one would be hurt. But little did she know that what she was doing for her man was about to change the entire trajectory of her life.
Orlando detectives have compelling evidence that April Koger and her boyfriend, Kenny Cheney, are responsible for a series of armed robberies and the murder of Greg Whitbeck.
April Koger freely admitted her role in the crimes to detectives. And when police bring in Kenny Cheney for an interview, he does the same.
Kenny confessed to shooting Greg in the parking lot in front of the dialysis center. April confessed to being the driver and being an accomplice in all of the robberies.
Both are charged with murder, second-degree murder, armed robbery, and attempted armed robbery. When detectives inform Greg's family that his killers have been caught, they are less than satisfied.
They're not convinced that it was just some random robbery gone wrong. What they really want to know is, did Greg's wife have anything to do with this?
Investigators re-interview Kenny and show him a photo of Greg's wife, Josette.
They ask Kenny if he's able to identify the woman in the picture, and Kenny makes it clear that he has never seen this woman before in his life. She is a complete stranger, totally foreign to him, and he seems very sincere.
Detectives even went so far to look through Josette's bank records to see if there was any evidence that she paid someone to kill Greg. And there was nothing, so they were able to finally rule her out.
April's trial is scheduled to begin in February 2018. As the date approaches, prosecutors present her with a deal. April accepts.
Given the charges against April, it could have been a potential life sentence, but the DA offered April 17 years in prison in exchange for her testimony against Kenny as the planner of the crime and the gunman in the crime.
Kenny Cheney eventually pleads guilty to all the charges and is sentenced to life in prison. The convictions are little solace to the family and friends of Greg Whitbeck.
In one sense, it was comfort that they got caught, but at the same time, we were still angry about it. Just angry because it didn't have to be that way.
By the time April Koger is released from prison, her 2 children will be adults, and she will have missed most of their childhood years.
The crimes that she committed for her man, in the name of love, they were blinding to her. It skewed her judgment. She didn't make the right decisions. And now she has to live with that guilt for the rest of her life, away from her children.
And she said that she was just following the lead of her man because they were on hard times. She could have said no, but he assured her and she trusted him. This should be a big lesson to young women in any kind of situation like this.
Young women feel that they need a man that's out there being tough and bad and just robbing and they like that fast life. It's not about the fast life. You don't need that kind of life because like April, look where she ended up. In prison for what? You just ruined your whole life.
Sharing a common purpose can lay a strong foundation between kindred spirits. But when violence becomes the means to achieve those goals, that foundation can crumble to dust, and the repercussions can shatter the lives of all involved.